Well, hello, everybody. I wanted to take this opportunity. We want to take this opportunity here at 3 Clicks Media and the Disgruntled podcast to wish you all a happy Thanksgiving, which is as we move into the holiday season. I think that we should maybe just reflect on what it is we might be grateful for. Maybe have a discussion about where we're going in the next year coming up. And we probably have time to get to that because it's only the end of November. But maybe we should do that now. I think it's a good idea.
Well, I think this is a great time. I mean, this is a time that I don't think a lot of us take for ourselves to think about the things that we've been blessed by. You know, the great things that happen and the future going forward. I think we tend to compress that in between Christmas and New Year's, and I think that's the kind of the Achilles heel for all of us.
Yeah.
As we don't spend enough time throughout the course of the year thinking about the things that we're grateful of. And, you know, I tell you, man, I'm grateful that we met. I'm grateful that we're sitting here doing this show, hoping to reach a greater audience. And I think everything that we've done to this point has been a very, very small footprint of where we're going to go. I've been proud of everything and every opportunity that you've ever given me to come on your big show, you know, over on Rumble. And so for those of you that don't know, that only know Richard Leonard here from the Disgruntled podcast, Richard Leonard is kind of a big hitter over there in the Rumble sphere.
You mentioned that we have a small footprint now, but it's growing. And to be quite honest, there have been times that I'm surprised that we made it this far because we've had a lot of things thrown at us, a lot of hurdles, from from studio space to government regulations to this, to that, and the other thing, and then on top of all that, all four of us. Just so if anybody doesn't know, out of the four of us founders of this initiative or this organization, 3 of us are disabled veterans. And so along with that comes a lot of other things, plus families, plus jobs. And so we do a lot of these things after hours and on the weekends.
But this is that extension of family, you know, and that's
that's
why we make the time. I mean, how many times have you heard us say something like that? You know, we probably should have quit. Normal people do. Mm-hmm. Veterans tend not to. And I would say that's probably, it'll be our superpower or the thing that takes us out because we don't like to quit. If there is a mission, if there is something to focus on, we are going to figure out a way to achieve that initiative. The high entry point right now, like you're saying, is we both have families, and those families need us. And my wonderful wife is willing to give that time. Either she's willing to give it, or let's be honest, she's just happy I'm not in the house. But either way, there would be animosity if the latter were true. And so I really feel that if we're going to take this opportunity to do it, let's actually make some big things happen. And I think our goals for 25 are lofty.
Yeah, but they should be.
Well, they have to be, because if they were easy, everybody would be doing it.
Yeah.
And so that's hopefully this is this the show where we actually break the news about the nonprofit finally going live?
Well, I think you just did.
I think we just did.
I think you just did.
Vetertainment.
Vetertainment is here, folks.
It's here, and it's been a hell of a project on the back end. You know, we don't get to talk about that stuff often on the show, but it's here. It's real.
And I'll tell you what, I learned a bit through that process that we went through, and what's unique about our group, I think, is that all of us have vastly different strengths and vastly different ways of doing things. I think you'd agree. But at the end of the day, it works. And the important part is that everyone has the same goal at the end. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think our goal is to just positively, the best we can, affect the lives of veterans in our communities. And doing that by, doing things like a storytelling project and doing things out in the community, especially at Legions and VFWs, to try to help them stay afloat. Because as we know, sometimes it seems that we're losing them. And just here in Stillwater, Jason, we lost what, 2?
Yeah, the Stillwaters lost the Legion and the VFW, and it's not just a story here. That's a story across the state. That's a story across the country.
Yes.
The veteran culture is fractured. There's no question about it. It's either by hook or crook, but it's happened. And so, I would hope that this show, number one, like you always talk about, bridging that gap between civilians and veterans so we can better understand one another. But number two, to be a place where veterans can hear things and maybe learn something that they didn't know, either about themselves or about their issues that they're dealing with. By bringing in these professionals that have agreed to come on this show with us next year. I think for a lot of those pieces, we're going to be able to bring forward either greater insight and information into whatever your particular issue is. And then on the other side, civilians are going to hear about it and understand like why veterans get frustrated, and you continually hear that the VA is a terrible place to be. Yeah. Because in my personal experiences, the VA has been a wonderful place for me. And I know that's not true of everybody. And I know it's a wonderful opportunity to discuss the successes as well as the shortcomings. And sometimes we get too focused on the negativity. And that's what I'm hoping for 25, that we can be the breath of fresh air to talk about things that are changing in the right way, which obviously this year has been a breath of fresh air.
Yeah.
I think a lot of questions that we've asked and answered of ourselves probably changes. But I think we're kind of entering a time in America where there's a pause. And so what a great opportunity for us to be ready with vetertainment, which it's hard for me to say the word. I always get screwed up.
I do mispronounce it often myself.
But it's great to be able to launch that thing out new, to be able to start cataloging these stories that veterans have. And they're not always the stories of valor, but they give you a better understanding of why, maybe your grumpy neighbor down the street doesn't want to hear your trash cans banging around at 4:00 in the morning, right? Because you're going to hear other people's experiences, and they're humbling, and they're exciting, and they're sad, and you're going to experience a lot of different emotions from those shows.
I think so too, and I think one thing that people don't really expect from those types of projects is, like you said, they're not always hero stories, and they're not always valorous stories. Sometimes they're real simple, but when you see them told by these people who are telling their own story and what it means to them and how they have done things in their lives around the way that they served in the military, even if it was something as small as being a cook, for example. You really kind of get an understanding of how that whole dichotomy of the military works and how people bring that with them. And it's not always negative. And so it's important to recognize those things. And it's also important for those guys and gals to have if they're willing and want somebody to listen to them, that it's available. Because the other part of it too is, not everybody has somebody to talk to. Not everyone has a person to I guess kind of brag to or talk about their experience and feel good about it, and then get some positive reinforcement. So it's a multifaceted initiative. It's definitely the content that we put out, in my opinion, and maybe I'm biased because we put it out, is for everybody. And I guess at the end of the day, the topics of discussion are veteran-centered, but also have these reactions of sorts, I would say, that really are just regular guy type of reactions, but just from a different view, a different lens, a different mindset. That's not always understood.
I think that's a great thing to talk about in 25 as well. I think, we're going to spend a little more time talking about, current events and our personal opinions on them. And I don't know about you, but I think there's a lot of stuff that we're going to be able to react to over the next couple of years.
Yeah.
And I think they're important because I do believe, based upon our unique experiences, sometimes we see things a little differently.
But on top of all of that, we want to have fun doing it. I mean, right, because that's what keeps you coming back every day. That's what kind of keeps the tank full. I mean, I see this initiative or this thing called Vettertainment and everything that it can do as a way to positively help our community, a community of veterans. But I believe that if we do it in a thoughtful, mindful, creative way and make it fun for people involved and fun for ourselves, we're going to want to come back every day and do it, which is like, I mean, everybody knows that, right? If you love what you're doing, you never work a day in your life.
Right.
And so this is more, to me, in my opinion, it's more of a commitment to a lifestyle change of sorts. Because I'll come down to this dungeon every day and talk about things on this camera if I know that it's helping people. And I'll do all of that. But there's nothing that says that we can't film a couple episodes of a podcast where we have some laughs.
Well, and that's the hardest thing out there, guys. Like,
Laughing?
I don't know. Like,
well, if it's hard for you to laugh, we need to have a different discussion.
It's never been difficult for me to laugh, but it's hard for me to understand what's a proper joke in what context. And so bear in mind, both veterans.
Yep.
I just happen to be a carpenter as well. And so sometimes I have to slow down my humor a little bit.
Me too. Well,
because I'm quite worried about the things that could possibly come out of my mouth. And I think we're gonna, I'm becoming more comfortable personally, to be able to let some of that come forward finally.
Yeah. Well, and I think that all the way around the board, I mean, I'm a veteran, of course, but I was also an infantryman, which can get pretty gnarly. But I also was a bounty hunter for 16 years. And so like that community of people, and I'll say this, our clientele, also had very colorful language. And ways of seeing things and doing things. So, but I think that's part of what makes this great, is because you have a different view of society and mentality and just overall humans, maybe, from a couple different angles, from a couple different lenses. And I think that it gives us good perspective, I think.
Well, it's certainly, well, I know when I say things, and I'm not even trying to spark a response from my wife, and I just say it the way I see it, that sparks some serious conversations in our household. Still, and I will, at the end of the day, that comment still stands. Yeah. I rarely come off the comment. It might get tweaked a little bit, but, I think that's kind of the rudimentary basic that a lot of people in the military take away is you don't have a ton of time on earth to fill it with fluff. Yeah. Make the moments count, make the words count, and drive through it. I mean, if you're going to spend time responding to things on the interweb because you personally feel attacked or whatever the case is, that just tells me you don't have enough going on.
Yeah.
100%. Like if you think about the finite amount of time that we have to spend, and you guys have shared that time with us, and I can't believe, I'm honored that we're in a situation where we get that from you folks. And so for us to waste it would be a travesty.
What I can say to end out the show is I'm grateful for a lot of things. But the main thing right now today that I'm grateful for is just my ability to be able to have this platform, to have this space, to have this group of people to do this with, and we have no way to go but up, and that's what we intend to do. And so I'm thankful for that this year. A lot of other things. So if I missed you, don't be offended. But as we sit here filming this show, that's what I'm thankful for today. So anyway, happy Thanksgiving.